to live in sin, beware. Beware. Because you are sinning, doing wrong, acting wickedly, rebelling, turning aside from God's commandments and rules. You are not listening to God's servants. You are transgressing his law, turning aside, refusing to obey. His curse will come upon you. In fact, the best way to describe verse 11, the second part, is this. And the curse and even the oath that are written in the law of Moses, the servant of God, have been poured out upon us. That phrase poured out is an expression of how it feels. How it feels. The extent of the punishment. It's like you took this red hot lava and just began to pour it on us, just pouring it on us. Or the flood of Noah's day that just comes down in torrents and comes down in torrents and comes down in torrents until all our strength is gone under his punishment. Beware. 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 The God we claim to relate to has boundaries. He has laws. He's a moral being. Our desire must always be, Lord, how do you want me to live? And then we go to this book. We go to this book. Finally, the providential and eternal punishment that we suffer when we go against God's word only confirms what his word says. It only confirms what his word says. Verse 12. Verse 12. Back to our text. He has confirmed his words, which spoke against us and against our rulers who ruled us, by bringing upon us a great calamity. For under the whole heaven there has not been done anything like what has been done against Jerusalem. He has confirmed his word. In other words, through Moses, which is what he says here, the law of Moses, written in the law of Moses, he had issued threats. Now we have done exactly what he said we shouldn't do. What has he done? He's punished us. Why has he punished us? So that we may know that his word is true. That we may know that his word is true. He deliberately makes sure he fulfills it. To borrow the words of the Apostle Paul to Timothy, if we are unfaithful, he remains faithful because he cannot deny himself. Most of you will be aware of parents who, in their moment of anger, they issue serious threats. If you come back after 18 hours, you are not going to come into this house. You sleep outside. Well, the son or daughter comes after 18 hours, and the thought that the child should sleep outside is overwhelming. So they just say, Iwe, next time, come in. Well, God is not like that. He doesn't issue threats and then afterwards change his mind. He doesn't do that. He remains faithful, not just to his promises, he also remains faithful to his threats. In other words, whatever it is he has spoken, he will truly carry out. And that's the difficulty of what was going on here. Because remember, for almost 70 years, his children were scattered in the known world under the captivity, to begin with, of the Assyrians. Then the Babylonians came and overtook the remaining nation, tribes of Israel, in Judah, around Jerusalem as well, flattened the temple, took away all their worship utensils, took them into captivity, killed many of them in the process, turned them into slaves where they were, absolutely no freedom for themselves. And this was now a good 60 years. In other words, they themselves had given birth to children, and those children had remained slaves of this nation that they were under. The Babylonians were now defeated by the Medes and the Persians. They were still under captivity. So the best way I can try and illustrate it is this. Imagine a father who says to the son that I'm tired of your misbehavior. The next time you come home drunk, I'm going to kick you out of this home, and I will not want you back here for 6 months. 6 months. And imagine that period, month after month after month, is passing. That son who had still come home drunk was now sent out in the streets. And he is actually sleeping at the intercity bus stop with thieves, thugs, beggars, homeless people, instead of in a proper home where he belonged. Imagine what we would be saying to that parent. Imwe, please. Feel sorry for your child. Bring him back. What God is doing here is saying, I said 6 months. I'm not changing my mind. It was not an accident. When he came home drunk that night, he knew what I had said. That if he does it again, it's going to be out there 6 months. So sorry. Even if he remains unfaithful, I remain faithful. Both to my promises and to my threats. It's going to remain out there for 6 months. That's basically the picture you have here. The angels of God are seeing a God who is faithful. It's now almost 70 years. And his children are at the intercity bus stop. And he refuses to bring them back home. Refuses to do so. He is confirming his word. The threats I made, I meant it. I'm still carrying them out. Well, in case you are wondering about that kind of God, let me remind you that at the beginning of history, he said to Adam, The